Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Connecting with Kim here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network. I'm your host, Kim Droege, and we're so glad you joined us today. You can also catch the audio of our show on Sun Radio, 96.3 FM, or on your favorite streaming platform. The show airs Monday and Wednesday, Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. And we strive every week on this show to bring you information about people, places, and things that make your life in our little corner of paradise that much better. I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, the Spring of Tampa Bay, who provides empowering services and safe spaces for survivors of domestic violence and their children. And we are so appreciative of their support. And you can follow my Facebook, Instagram, and X account for all the latest information about the show, the guest, and of course my on-air wardrobe, which is supplied by the Spring. So the net proceeds from their thrift store on North Willow and what will soon become a new location for the Spring Boutique, the net proceeds support their mission. So please shop there. They have great things, as you can tell from what I wear. So on the show, I'm so absolutely thrilled to death about the show because I've tried so long and hard well, she's a very busy lady, and between our two schedules, sometimes things just don't work out. But I'm happy to say that she's finally here with us today, and I couldn't be more thrilled. So let me introduce you to my guest, Clara Reynolds, who is the CEO of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. Welcome to the show, Clara.
Welcome, Kim. It is such an honor to be here. And you're right, it has been crazy to get this scheduled, but again, I think we're going to have such a fun time today.
We are, and I'm just so happy that you're here. We love having first-time guests on Connecting with Kim. It's always a joy for us because we get to show off the studio and we get to show off our set and a wonderful crew that we have working here. So I'm so thrilled you're here. So the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay also just celebrated last year its 50th anniversary.
We did, yes. So we've been a part of our community for over 50 years, and you know, our mission is to ensure that no one in our community has to face crisis alone. And I know that word crisis makes people maybe a little bit uncomfy or gives them like the heebie-jeebies, but we define crisis. Someone who's having a life's problem, they just need help figuring out a solution. We're going to help you. We're going to walk with you to get to that solution, whatever that may look like. So we really say there's no issue too big or too little that we can't help you solve.
Well, before we get started on talking in more detail about the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, why don't you take a few moments and share your life journey with our listening and watching audience, because you just never know when somebody out there listening or watching has shared a similar experience, went to the same school as you, is from the same place as you. You just never know.
So I am a Tampa native, born and raised. I am a proud graduate of Plant High School, so go Panthers. My mother was the first police officer to go through the police academy here in the city of Tampa. In fact, we were talking about Craig Latimer a moment ago. Yeah. She and Craig were in the same class at the academy. So my mom worked with Tampa Police Department. She was in a variety of different roles, and then she was promoted to sergeant. And was working the street, and she struggled with behavioral health issues. And in February of 1986, she took her own life.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I was a almost 16-year-old girl, and I share that because that was such a pivotal moment in my life.
Of course.
I was very fortunate to have a family of by choice that was able to help me get through that. But I did graduate high school, ended up for a little while in the child welfare system, but had a very positive experience. So went on to Florida State University, where I got my undergraduate degree in child psychology, and then was able to get a master's degree in social work. So came back to Tampa because it's always been home, and have had a variety of amazing experiences here. I served with the Department of Children and Families as an intern, as a child protective investigator, and then I came and worked for the school district as a school social worker. Started with the teen parent program, and then moved to an elementary school, and then had the opportunity to work in juvenile justice for the school system. At the time, this was in the early 90s when the Department of Juvenile Justice was just created. We were, unfortunately, Hillsborough County had 13 lockdown residential facilities for kids from all over the state, as young as 7, as old as 17, and I had an opportunity opportunity to interface with those kids, helping them with their educational attainment, but also helping to transition them back home when their sentences were done. And it was such an incredible, pivotal opportunity for me to see trauma and the impact of trauma. These kids had these unbelievable stories that they would share, and it would just really, it just taught me so much about their actions were the result of trauma that had never been addressed, never been treated. And so I carried that with me. I had an opportunity to move within the district to work with children with severe emotional and behavioral challenges, helping these kids be able to maintain in their school setting. I also was responsible for placing them in psychiatric facilities when they were struggling. And again, I kept thinking about this trauma piece that I had learned. And so I had an opportunity in 2005 to create a nonprofit organization focused on these kids. The name of the organization was Success for Kids and Families, and I founded that with my partner my business partner at the time, John Mayo, incredible clinician. And so we were able to create a nonprofit focused on kids and their families that were struggling with behavioral health issues. So I did that for 10 years. And then had the just amazing opportunity to come to the Crisis Center. In my earlier days, I had actually been a board member of the Crisis Center from 1994 until 2002, when I had my son and got married, and your life takes off. And so in 2015, I was selected to become the CEO for the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, where I have been for the past 8.5 years.
You know, this is amazing because you have experienced what you're dealing with at the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. You have experienced this not only in your own personal life, right? And you've experienced this in a variety of different settings. I used to work out at the Y a lot, the YMCA in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Shout out. But one thing, I was a little bit older weightlifter and person working out, and I was surrounded by a lot of young people in my classes and in the gym. And the one thing that I went home every time I was in the gym, I'd go home and I'd think to myself, you must have been raised in some kind of special bubble, because they would share their stories of their home life. And I would sit there and I would be just gobsmacked. Again, thinking to myself, you have some kind of unreal existence that you were brought up in. You had 2 loving parents, a stable home, all these other things, and so many people don't have that. It was shocking to me.
It is, and it's amazing, though, the resiliency, though, that those individuals have been able to experience in their lives. They must have had somebody. If it wasn't their, birth family, it was somebody that took an interest in them and really helped them get through those difficult times. I know I certainly was one of those. So yes, I agree with you 100%. We never know the journey that people go on. We all present, we all have our face for the world, but all of us have these pockets of ourselves that we either choose to share or we don't share. But they're so impactful in making us who we are.
So I had a recent opportunity, and I'm so glad that I took the opportunity, and I want to be sure that we talk about it so that other people can take the opportunity to tour the Crisis Center. I try with all of my nonprofits, I try to somehow get involved or go and visit or look at. I don't always manage it before the interview happens, but this time I was able to do it, and I was so impressed with the facilities, the team, the services. So I think that might be a good place to start. Is, what is the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay and what do they do? And then be sure to talk about people can come and tour themselves.
Absolutely. So the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, as we already discussed, has been here in our community for over 50 years. I mentioned our mission before. It's to ensure that no one has to face crisis alone. We believe that the gateway for individuals who are struggling is through our what we call the call center or contact center. We answer a variety of phone lines here in Hillsborough County, and also some of those lines are statewide. 211, which is an information and referral line. It has been available since the late 90s, and it is really the clearinghouse for all information and referral that's available in the community. So people will call us for information about basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, but then also around child care, maybe care for their elderly parents, maybe they're struggling with substance use, or they've got some sort of family situation. Whatever it is, we really spend the time talking with those individuals to really get to the root of the problem. Because, Kim, folks call us with symptoms. They call us with the thing for the day that
the aftermath.
Exactly, that is driving them, up the wall. That's the one that they call for help on.
Right.
So that's what makes us different than Google, to be quite honest, is that we spend the time talking with individuals.
Right.
So we run 211. We also run another very important phone line, and that's 988. 988 is the National Crisis and Suicide Hotline. It switched to a 3-digit number about a little over a year ago.
Right.
And we get about 30 calls every single day from people here in Hillsborough County who are thinking about taking their life, or they're in some sort of behavioral health challenge. That is incredible work. It's an incredible opportunity to help people in their darkest hour. We also have some specialty phone lines for populations that are at really high risk for crisis and suicide. First one is veterans. So we run the Florida Veterans Support Line. The beauty of that line is it's actually answered by veterans 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then we also answer a first responder helpline. As I have shared, this is the huge passion for me. More first responders die by suicide than in the line of duty. So
That's shocking.
It is shocking.
We should actually take a moment and just let that register. That more first responders, and we're talking, by first responders, we're talking police, fire, paramedics, die by suicide than doing their job.
Correct. And you could almost say, though, that the suicide is a result of their job.
Yes.
Because, again, where we started, trauma untreated doesn't go away. And our first responders are taught, you don't run away from problems or fires or crisis, you run to it.
You rush in.
And every single day, they are experiencing things that I pray you and I don't ever have to experience. And they take those experiences with them. And so for that reason, we created a confidential line. Again, it is answered by first responders or individuals kind of like me that is a family member of a first responder that can really understand in that moment in time what they're going through. That line is right now in about 14 counties. We're working with the Florida legislature, though, to make it statewide. We also answer for the state of Florida substance abuse hotline. We get about 30,000 calls every year from individuals. Many of them are personally struggling, but oftentimes it's a family member. It's a mom who just found their child with a needle in their arm, those kinds of things. So we answer over 110,000 calls just in that call center alone. We have some other phone lines. We are the rape hotline for the state of Florida. We also have a great partnership with Tampa Bay Thrive to answer a line called Let's Talk to help individuals that have insurance but they just don't know how to navigate it. We'll work with that. We also have a hotline for teens and young adults who are in crisis.
So I had the opportunity to see the call center. They were working while we were standing there. It was a small group of people touring, but I had a chance to see the call center. It was amazing. I mean, just having seen the call center and now the statistics that you're quoting, I'm gobsmacked.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it is those individuals who are answering those phone lines, they're all employees.
God bless them.
Or they're interns with USF or University of Tampa. We're very fortunate for that. And they do amazing, amazing work. And they keep people alive. 98% of the time when somebody calls us, we are able to get them to a place of better without ever having to engage law enforcement or any other system. For those 2%, though, that need help and support, we get that help and support to them. We answer the call boxes at the top of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. That obviously is very stressful work. It has helped now that we've got netting up there, but we still receive the occasional phone call from somebody who's up there and they're in their darkest hour.
So let me understand something, because we were talking about trauma never really goes away.
It doesn't.
I want to cover the rape, but I want to just stay on this for a little moment.
Sure.
Because these people working in the call center are experiencing, in a way, a form of the trauma.
This vicarious trauma, absolutely. You're 100% right, Kim. So in our 6 weeks of training that we put everybody through, we really talk about the importance of self-care.
Okay.
That it is so important that you recognize, number one, what are your triggers? What brought you to the crisis center? Because oftentimes people have some sort of passion or some sort of experience that they've experienced in their life.
Sure.
And they want to be able to give back.
Right.
Which is phenomenal, but can also put you in a vulnerable situation.
Exactly.
When that moment in time you pick up that phone and it triggers in you what you've experienced.
Right.
So we talk about those triggers. We make sure that every call center staff member has a safety plan on the back of their ID so that when they're in that moment of crisis, they can be reminded what makes them feel better. Is it coloring? Is it just taking a deep breath? What is it? We also have on staff supervisors that will help to debrief. And we encourage a lot of debriefing amongst each other so that when you leave your day there at the crisis center. You
Right.
don't take it with you.
Right. Because, DJ Reyes was on the show recently, and we talked about the fact
My
that
good pal.
you cannot unsee whatever you've seen on
Absolutely.
the battlefield. Or whatever the situation was. You can't unsee it. If you're just joining me now on Connecting with Kim, and we're so glad that you are, my guest in the chair is Clara Reynolds, who is the CEO of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, who last year celebrated its 50th anniversary. So let's take this transition now and talk
Sure.
about the Rape Crisis Center, because I also got to see that, and I have to say it was amazing.
We're very fortunate here in Hillsborough County and many other places across our state. When an individual is sexually assaulted, they have to go to an emergency room where you can sit for 8, 10, 15, 20 hours
Yeah.
waiting to get treated. We decided, the community came together in the 80s and said, we need something better. We need a different response. And so the Crisis Center stepped up, and we now have 2 clinics open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We help anyone who has been raped or sexually assaulted over the age of 13, male and female, and we process a little bit over 1 rape a day. That is an individual who has been sexually
that's shocking.
assaulted.
Okay, now 1 rape a day. I mean, okay, we need to back up because I went to your location up on
Bears.
I know. I always want to.
Beers.
I always want to pronounce it differently than
Yeah,
it's spelled.
beer.
Right. Which was your original and first location.
Yes.
I'm happy to say that also last year, besides your 50th anniversary, was another big thing happened for you because you opened a new location in South County.
Yes.
In South Hillsborough County in Ruskin.
Yes.
Now I haven't been over there yet, but so both locations you're processing 1 rape a day.
Both about like 1.5 a day.
Oh my! I mean, that's
combined
shocking to
between
me.
the 2.
That's shocking to me.
And we know by statistics, for every 1 that comes forward, we're still missing 2 that never come forward. So what happens when somebody comes in? They either come in with law enforcement, or they decide they want to come in with a family member or a friend. They're met by a sexual assault nurse examiner as well as an advocate. And that team works together to do the forensic interview as well as providing all sorts of support and help. We do the forensic exam that is all consent-based. So you are the one who gives us permission to go through that process, because one of the things we know, Kim, about rape, it's not about sex, it's about power and control.
Right.
And immediately we
Domination.
we want to reestablish an individual's own personal power and control by giving them the power to say, yes, I want something, or no, I don't.
And I have to say to you, for you people that have not had the opportunity yet to tour the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay's facilities, and you really, really, really should, and they offer it on a regular basis, so you need to acquaint yourself, not just maybe for yourself, but the fact that you have family members or you have loving friends that unfortunately may have to avail themselves of the services of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. I have to say, when I walked in, they have their own separate entrance.
Yes.
For the rape center, and I have to say the facilities were incredible, so comforting and so warm and so welcoming. I know that sounds weird to say that about rape, but the facilities were just so, I mean, I felt even though nothing had happened to me, I immediately felt welcome.
And that's really what we're trying to create.
Yeah.
We are the
Protected.
alternative. Exactly.
Protected.
We're the alternative to sitting in a crowded emergency room. We are the alternative to the stark white walls and the scrubs and things like that.
Right.
So we really want to create an environment where the worst thing has happened to you that could probably ever happen to a human being.
Right.
We want you to at least have an opportunity to take a breath and feel comfortable and tell your story.
Right.
Our only job is to believe what you say.
Right.
We're not investigators. That is not our role. Our role is to believe you and give you the help and support that you need after this horrific event. So we will gather all of the DNA evidence, and then we will gather blood, whatever we need to help help law enforcement make a case if that's the direction you want to go. We also will provide any prophylactic medications to ensure that you are protected from an event that has happened.
Right. So when you're talking about like to prevent pregnancy or something of that nature,
Mostly for sexually transmitted
disease. Okay.
Yeah, infections. So that's really where our focus is: HIV prevention, sexually transmitted disease prevention. One
thing I really loved about your location was the big red heart. It's like you see that big red heart, and you're like, yeah, this is a good place filled with good people who want to help me.
And we were so fortunate. Dominique Martinez came to us and says, I want to make you the biggest heart in Hillsborough County. And I was like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden he showed up, like literally with cranes, and installed that. And it is such a beacon, I think, for people. It is. You know, you see that heart and you recognize that even on your very worst day, there are people here that care. Mm-hmm. There are people here that believe you, that believe your story, that are here to support you. That's what that heart represents to us.
It does. And I mean, you can't miss it. And once you see it.
It's 10 feet tall.
I took a picture of it. I was like, I'm posting that because I wanted to promote the fact that I had taken the tour of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, and I really encourage everyone to do it. So let's talk about that. Can we talk a little bit about when you can tour the?
Sure, you can tour the Crisis Center. You can go to our website, which is www.crisiscenter.com. On our website, there's a variety of information. There's also the opportunity to sign up for a tour. If you would like to volunteer, if you'd like to financially support, all of that's available on our website. We do host monthly tours on the second Thursday of every month at noon, and it just gives every member of our community an opportunity to see what their crisis center can do. Because not only are we answering those phone calls and we're talking about rape, but we also provide trauma counseling. Because remember what I said before, mm-hmm. Everything we've talked about, somebody has experienced a trauma, and trauma untreated does not go away. It will continue to manifest itself throughout your life.
In various and sundry ways.
Exactly.
And usually self-destructive ways.
Of course. And so we are certified with licensed clinicians to serve from infancy throughout the lifespan. We have amazing clinicians that utilize all of the latest trauma therapeutic techniques to be able to get you to the place of better. And it has been just so fulfilling for me as a clinical social worker mm-hmm. who always worked with individuals after they had experienced something mm-hmm. and they were trying to cope. Right. And their coping mechanisms weren't working, right. To see individuals who come to us and get to the other side of their journey, where they can tell their story without experiencing any adverse effects. They can tell their story without crying, without breaking out into cold sweat, all of those things. And to see it in adults and to see it with an elderly, we had an 82-year-old woman that came to us and says, I need to understand why I keep making the decisions I make before I die. Turns out she was raped in her 20s, and it was never acknowledged. She never told anybody, and thinking that it would just go away, and it doesn't. It stays with you forever. And so unless you get it treated. And so
that's amazing.
It's amazing to see what can happen.
But I'm so happy she came to you.
Exactly.
I mean, what a thing to say, because at 80 years old, I mean, you just do the math back. People didn't talk about stuff like that.
Absolutely not.
You were, I mean, that was the coping mechanism.
Sure.
To pretend like it never happened.
Well, because at that point, you think about the stigma, mm-hmm. the stereotypes.
Right.
You did it to yourself.
Right.
It was
you invited it.
Exactly. It's what you were wearing or where you were. Bologna sandwich, it's a crime. Yeah. It was a crime committed against you. and you need to take that back and be in a good space.
I'm
with
so
yourself.
happy for that woman at that age that we only have a couple minutes left. I know it goes so fast.
Yeah,
Everyone
it
says
does.
that.
It does.
So I promised you before we went. Well, I'm happy that she found some sense of comfort and perhaps some sort of understanding and relief before her life was over, because maybe that will enable her to live the whatever remaining time she has
Absolutely.
in a much better way.
And then for anybody who's listening, that's, I think, for me, the big takeaway for anybody who is listening, that there is help for you no matter what has happened in your life. Whether it happened yesterday or it happened 60 years ago, if you're struggling with something, the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay is here to help you. CrisisCenter.com is the best way to find out more information, or you can always call us at 211 or at 988. We didn't get a chance to talk at all about our ambulance business.
I know, I saw your ambulance.
Yeah, the psychiatric transport. So there's so much more to the Crisis Center than we were able to cover today. So please go to our website, CrisisCenter.com.
Well, we have like well, yeah, we really have. Well, that just means you have to come back.
Thank you. I would love to.
You have to come back because we have more to talk about. I can't encourage you people enough to go to the website, investigate the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay and everything that they have to offer, because you never know when you yourself or somebody you know and love is going to need their services. And I can tell you, from when you walk into a place, you get a feeling, you get a vibe, you get something, right? And I can tell you, when I walked into the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, the vibe that I got from everybody that I interacted with, everything I observed, was a vibe of care, concern, compassion, and comfort. And when you're facing a trauma, whatever it is, that's what you need. Clara, I can't thank you enough for being my guest today. I'm so thrilled that we finally got to do this. You have no idea what this means to me.
Well, you have no idea what it means to me either. So thank you so much for this opportunity, for exposing the Crisis Center to your incredible fan base and all of the people that follow you so closely. It has truly been an honor. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. That's not kind of you to say that. So we are out of time. I can't believe it. I think like today went faster than it ever did before, and I've been doing this a while. But I want to thank my guest, Clara Reynolds, the CEO of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. I want to thank you for joining us here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network and Sun Radio. We strive all the time to bring you information about people, places, and things that will make your life in our corner of paradise that much better. And I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, the Spring of Tampa Bay, who provides empowering services and safe spaces for survivors of domestic violence and their children. And they've been doing it for a very long time, and they do a fantastic job. So follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X so you can find out all the latest information about our show, when you can see it, when you can hear it. And join us next week for another edition of Connecting with Kim.